And, so far we heard a lot about HPC and AI on the dedicated systems. We also lead one of the NSF AI Institute called ICICLE. We have been doing it for 5 years. So there it extends the concepts into computing continuum, different kind of applications. So we'll have two talks here. We'll start with Professor Vipin Chaudhary from Case Western Reserve University. So he will provide a very high-level overview of the ICICLE AI and CI services. And then the talk after the break, Professor Hari Subramani will really take it into more details with the demos, what kind of software stacks we have designed for, let's say, digital agriculture. I gave an example like saying a drone flying, trying to do real-time inferencing, those kind of things we'll see in his talk. Okay. So let me introduce Professor Vipin Chaudhary. He has been actively participating in the science, business, government, and technology innovation frontiers of HPC for almost 3 decades. His contributions range from heading research laboratories and holding executive management positions to starting new technology ventures. Most recently, he was actually a program director at the National Science Foundation, where he was involved in many national initiatives and the Empire Innovation Professor of Computer Science and Engineering at SUNY Buffalo. He co-founded Scalable Informatics, a leading provider of pragmatic, high-performance software-defined storage and compute solutions to a wide range of markets, from financial and scientific computing to research and big data analytics. He also was the chief executive officer of the Computational Research Lab, a wholly owned Tata Sons company, where he grew the company globally to be an HPC cloud and solutions leader before selling it to the TCS. And that CRL actually had, 2000, the number 3 system, am I right?
It was the fourth largest
Fourth largest.
in the world and the largest
commercial system. So in fact, we worked at that time, MHAP, which was driving, I don't remember which year, but MHAP is led to that number 4 system in the top 500. So prior to that, he was also a senior director of advanced development at Cradle Technologies. He was also the chief architect of Corio, which had successful IPO in July 2000. He was awarded the prestigious President of India Gold Medal in 1986 for securing the first rank amongst graduating students at the Indian Institute of Technology. He received the BTech degree in Computer Science and Engineering from the Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, and a PhD degree from the University of Texas at Austin. So he holds so many hats, not just academic, but business, CEO, CTO. He has gone through all the stages. So let's welcome Vipin.
Thank you, DK. That was a long introduction. I would have given you a shorter one. Make it bigger. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be here. Apologies to a couple of ICICLers that I see here. You are going to learn nothing new. You've seen it all before. But I'll give an overview of the ICICLE, and I'll introduce ICICLE to start with, the AI and CI services. After that, I will go into some details about what kinds of AI and CI services are available. And then I'll have some time to dig into a little more detail about a specific portion of these services. And I will also set up the ICICLE premise for Hari, who will talk specifically on another aspect of ICICLE. So starting with the ICICLE review. So you've seen for many years, the advanced computing has centered around HPC, around data centers, where scientific computing, data analytics, and AI were performed in centralized facilities. However, today computing is expanding into the continuum, which includes cloud platforms, edge devices, and field sensors. Data can be generated, processed, and acted upon anywhere in that ecosystem. So the key challenge is enabling seamless integration across these resources so applications can leverage the right compute at the right time from sensors to supercomputers. So ICICLE is a NSF-funded AI institute. It's funded at over 20 million. It's one of the 29 AI institutes. And it is addressing the broad challenge of designing the next generation intelligent cyber infrastructure for a computing continuum with heterogeneous resources that is usable in a plug-and-play manner. That's key word there, by stakeholders to solve societal challenges. So this is a high-level overview of what we are doing in ICICLE. So at the lowest level here, this is the emerging computing continuum. It ranges from HPC systems to on-field sensors. And at the top are some of our initial use-inspired science domains. So they act as applications which provide us challenges to build what we call as the ICICLE system stack, or however you may want to call that. The three initial use-inspired science domains include digital agriculture, which Hari will talk about a lot more in detail, food systems, and animal ecology. And in the center here, this is where the ICICLE intelligent cyber infrastructure comes in, which we split into two primary areas. One, you have systems AI foundational research for cyber infrastructure, and then is the intelligent cyber infrastructure. And so intelligent cyber infrastructure is for AI. So it is the CI for AI. And of course, now you can use AI itself to improve the CI for AI. So it's a nice loop there. So you improve CI using AI, and that cycle continues. So a lot of the people who are working in that layer here are computer scientists. So what are the computer science challenges that we have, right? And these are all derived initially from the three use-inspired cases. So you have efficient data collection and cleaning on one end, to unified reference architecture to put together all of these things. And other things that include clearly are the plug-and-play model data commons, and that's what I will focus on in the last part of my talk. You have end-to-end AI ML workflows with configurable components, so that you create a workflow, you can adapt that to any other domain that you would want. There is intelligent resource scheduling, efficient AI support, scientific agents, privacy-preserving techniques, and so on. This is how the overall vision for the research looks like. So you have the foundational AI, the systems AI. You have the intelligent cyber infrastructure, which I talked about earlier. You have CI for AI and AI for CI for AI. Along with that, you also have software architecture and design, because you got to put all of these things together. And horizontally across all of these, we have the privacy, accountability, and data integrity as well. And all of these things are done with the use-inspired cases. So that there you have the co-design aspect with this. A little more about the institute. So this institute is fairly large. We have, I think, probably if you add them up, a little over 100 people involved. So 16 organizations, and they are all across the US. You see these stars going all the way from East Coast to the West Coast. There are several research institutes involved, which are sort of independent entities. There are national labs involved, there's industry involvement, and of course, there are several other AI institutes who are also partnering with us. This is the organizational chart for ICICLE. The PI for this is Professor Panda here, and we have 4 co-PIs from OSU, from CASE, and also from University of Oregon. And there's an external advisory board, and then we have the workforce development effort, and there are lots of these partners of different kind. And I've already talked about some of the ICICLE core research teams, and clearly there's a lot of overlap between those teams. So you have folks who are working in AI, they are also working with CI for AI, for example. Some of them are also working with use-inspired cases to inform them of what the challenges are. Okay. Jumping into the ICICLE services, the services span many different categories, and you can slice and dice this in many different ways. This is just one way of how we sliced and diced these. So we have various AI services, we have data services, we have at the bottom here the CI services. And then you have various benchmarks. If you look at AI and if you want to develop AI workflows, benchmarks are very, very important to be able to evaluate. And then on the top here are the workflows and pipelines, which are more complete, and they use many of these other components in building them. The software components that have been released, lots of them have been released, 127 components, and this is a little dated. This is from probably a little over a month ago. So it's accelerating quite fast. And here you can see these are color coded with basically which particular component they target. Are they for CI for AI or AI for CI and so on? Clearly the definitions of some of these are not exclusive. So, but you have over 10,000 clones and views that have happened. There are lots of forks and stars. Of course, I think the stars numbers are also a lot larger now that I'm aware of. And along with all of this, there is a training catalog, okay, which is been viewed quite a few times. So the component catalog is very well documented. So you can go and get enough details about what's happening there. And you can also click through to see how different components connect with each other. So instead of just going and trying to figure out, hey, what works for me, maybe you click on one and then that's of interest and you'll be able to find other things that you could use from it. Okay, the ICICLE use cases. So this is an example of what a workflow looks like. And this is a very generic template of how a workflow would look like. So almost every AI pipeline will have some of these components. At a high level, you have data collection and capacity planning. Then you will do some model training, and then you're going to deploy that. And finally, you're going to analyze all of this. And within each of these, there are more detailed things that you might do. Data collection via sensors on the field. You might develop benchmarks. How are you going to upload the data based on the network connectivity you have? And then in the model training, what kind of model should you be training based on the continuum aspect, whether it's on premise in a HPC center, so you have a lot of compute, or it's on a sensor and so on. And so we tend to use this as a generic pipeline. And we have adapted this pipeline to our various use cases. So in agriculture, for example, use AI to improve crop yields. For ecology, we use AI to enhance image and video collection of animals, to do many different things within their space. And we also use AI to improve food system quality and security at a very high level. And as you will see later, that these workflows, I may be adding some more specific options there or removing some of those. So with that, let me now walk you through some of the work that's happening in the model and data commons space. And I'll start with provisioning data commons. So there are 4 sub-projects within this, and I'll go through each one of those. And I'll give you some demos of these projects. So what is data commons here? So think of it as a connective tissue for ICICLE. It sits in the middle of the architecture, and it ensures that data tools and workflows, they move smoothly across different projects. So it's really foundational, and everything else builds on top of this layer. Okay? So the vision here really is to make models and data sets plug and play. So regardless of the domain that you have. So if you discover a model in agriculture, for example, you should be able to drop it into food systems workflow. If someone releases a new data set in digital health, others should be able to reuse it immediately. And to get there, of course, we are focusing on modularity, transparency, and FAIR principles. And we've organized this, as I was saying, into these 4 different sub-projects, and I'll walk you through each one of those very quickly. So the first is the model and data playground. So here we bring together ML Hub, MCP, Patra cards into an integrated whole. The ML Hub helps you find models and data sets, which could be local, they could be elsewhere. And MCP, of course, handles the deployment across the compute environment. And the Patra cards, they give you very nice way of using lightweight metadata to reproduce these workflows. And together they make it very easy to create and share these pipelines that are repeatable. And we've had many public releases of this, and I'll show you actually 2 short demos, which constitutes this. The first demo is going to show you how we build the entire ML pipeline that is accountable while interfacing with LLMs. And as you can imagine, the pace at which LLMs are moving, the demo that I'll show you might already appear to be dated, right? But you get the concept of what it is. And the second demo is how Tapis workflows, that is how we are generating most of workflows, they use that plug and play models. So let me start with this.
AI model discovery is broken. Researchers spend hours hunting across Hugging Face, GitHub, and institutional repositories. And even when they find something, there's no guarantee it's reproducible or trustworthy. I'll show you how ML Hub and the Patra knowledge base solve this, and how we're using agentic AI to make model discovery as simple as having a conversation. ML Hub provides a unified API layer for the full model lifecycle: discovery, training, and inference. For discovery, researchers can find models and datasets across Hugging Face, GitHub, and ICICLE's own models through the Patra knowledge base, where every model has a model card in our knowledge graph for accountability and reproducibility. What makes this production ready? Each model version has its own set of artifacts that can be deployed to isolated inference servers and containerized environments. Researchers can go from discovering a model to running inference without leaving the platform. But we've taken this further. Instead of researchers needing to know which model to search for, we built a playgrounds agent that understands their workflow. A researcher describes their problem in natural language. The agent reasons about what they need, queries ML Hub, which queries the Patra knowledge graph, and returns not just a model, but why that model fits their use case. Let me show you. Here's the playground's agent in action. Carlos, an animal ecologist, introduces himself and describes his research, studying animal behaviors through thousands of camera trap images deployed in the wild. Rather than just returning search results, the agent asks clarifying questions. What's your primary goal? Do you need detection, classification, or behavior analysis? Carlos explains he needs to automatically detect animals and ideally classify species. The agent queries ML Hub, which searches the Patra knowledge graph for ICICLE models matching his use case. Within seconds, it recommends megadetector V6B. It provides performance metrics, licensing information, and explains exactly why this model fits Carlos's workflow. But it doesn't stop there. The agent proactively notes that megadetector handles detection, not species classification, and offers to help Carlos find complementary models to complete his pipeline. From problem description to actionable solution, all through natural conversation. This is the vision. Researchers describe problems, not search queries. ML Hub and Patra handle discovery, and the knowledge graph ensures every recommendation is accountable. In our next demo, we'll show how Tapas Workflows lets you plug and play with these models, running them in isolated, safe environments without any infrastructure headaches. AI model discovery is broken. Researchers spend hours hunting across Hugging Face.
Welcome to Model and Data Commons. In this demo, we'll show how researchers from different domains can use the intuitive Tapas UI workflows to evaluate results from various hosted models in a plug-and-play fashion. In the UI, we can create a task by clicking on the Add button, entering our task name, selecting runtimes, and we have a box in the UI where we can then expand the task box and enter all the necessary information, including input, outputs, and our code. Tapas UI also provides the functionality to import all the tasks from a different pipeline, making it easier for us to reuse the components. In this workflow, we will see an example of image detection and classification of an animal. You can see we created different tasks, filled out the input and output, code, and other execution details. The UI automatically builds the dependency lines, showing the task dependency and flow of the task execution. We start by passing the models we have in our Patra knowledge card, which makes all our hosted models on Hugging Face and GitHub findable. Once we have the Patra model ID, an image address, and a flag for classifying species set to true or false, we can just hit submit, and the workflow starts from there. The ML Hub uses the link to the Patra service and model ID, downloads the model from the hosted location like Hugging Face or GitHub, and uses that model for inference. For this use case, the image we are using is an image from ICICLE AI's October 2025 release of the animal ecology dataset, named the KN dataset. Now the job is submitted, and let's wait for the workflow to finish all the tasks. As you can see, the pipeline ran successfully. We can click on the UED to see the execution logs from different tasks. Let's now see the output. Here is the animal classification output from the bioclip. You can see the zebra is the predicted class for this image. You can see that the final task, which is the labeling of the image, is dependent on the bioclip classifier. Let's just go into the labeling task and remove the dependency of bioclip so that we can plug in a new classifier. Now we will go on and add a new classifier. This will be a new task, and it will be used instead of the old bioclip classification task. This plug and play makes it easier for researchers and users to try different classifiers or any other tasks, like NAS, in order to see different results. Since we now have the ResNet classifier task, we can go on and remove the bioclip classifier task from our pipeline. We have a new task, so we will add the new task dependency inside our label image task to make the connection between the ResNet classification task and the label image task. We will also add the required input and output, change the name of the output file, and that's it. The pipeline is now ready to be used. As you can see, we have successfully plugged in a new classification task, and now we will rerun the pipeline with the same input and check the results. The workflow pipeline ran successfully this time with ResNet classification. Now let's look at the result. As you can see, the classification worked successfully, and it detected a zebra. Thanks for watching.
So you'll notice that in these demos, you could swap models instantly. And that is very important because sometimes you're running an edge device with limited memory, and sometimes you just need faster inference, for example, or you have to change the domains. So this plug and play gives you that flexibility across that entire computing continuum.
Welcome to Model and
Okay, so the next is neural architecture search. And this is where we automatically tune or redesign models so that they can run efficiently on different types of hardware and different data set itself. So think of it as on-demand optimization. So you don't have to be a model design expert. You have a model, you can tune that to whatever you need. So let me show you a quick demo.
Neural Architecture Search, or NAS, is an automated method to find an architecture that leads to the best validation accuracy, or other metrics like latency or efficiency. To understand how NAS works, let's start with the search space. This defines the set of architectures we want to explore. Next, a search strategy proposes candidate architectures from this space. Each candidate model is then evaluated using a performance estimation strategy, commonly based on validation accuracy or other metrics. Through iterative refinement, NAS identifies and selects the architecture that performs best for the task at hand. Our proposed method, NAS LCD, is specifically designed for DNNs in latency-constrained scenarios. We evaluate NAS LCD on two animal ecology datasets, Ohio Small Animals and iNaturalist 19, running on a Jetson Orin GPU and an ARM Cortex-A57 CPU. We present a latency-accuracy trade-off comparison between our method, NAS LCD, and two mainstream NAS approaches, Zen and OFA. For the Ohio Small Animals dataset, NAS LCD consistently achieves the best accuracy latency balance on both GPU and CPU. Zen shows larger accuracy variation depending on latency, while OFA provides intermediate performance. For iNaturalist 19, shown on the right, NAS LCD again delivers the most favorable accuracy across both platforms. We compare NAS LCD with the baseline mobile net v2 on animal species classification from camera trap images. Baseline predictions are shown on the left, and NAS LCD results are shown on the right. The predicted species and confidence scores appear in the top left corner of each frame. We now show real-time inference of baseline mobile net v2 and NAS LCD synthesized model. NAS LCD achieves the same accuracy as the baseline mobile net v2, while delivering a nearly 2x speedup in inference. Neural architecture.
Okay, so now as we scale models across domains, reliability becomes essential, and that's where Forte comes in. So Forte detects when a model is seeing something new or out of distribution, and then it flags it. This helps avoid incorrect predictions and guides where retraining is used. So if you've not seen this particular type of data, then probably your outcome is going to be confidently wrong, and you want to avoid that. So we've had multiple papers on this, and let me, in the demo, I will show some of this. And finally, we'll talk about data quality. And that seems to be one of the biggest bottlenecks for most AI systems. The labeling copilot here, it's an agent-based system that brings structure and intelligence to dataset creation, combines discovery, synthesis, and consensus labeling to produce high-quality, domain-specific datasets at scale. And this was a collaboration with Microsoft Research. And so we'll end with a short demo on how Forte and Labeling Copilot, they support ICICLE's trusted AI aspect.
AI is increasingly used to make critical decisions, but it can fail silently and confidently. How do we build AI systems we can truly trust? At ICICLE Model Commons, we've created a two-part ecosystem that builds robust models and ensures they make reliable decisions. Ohio's rich biodiversity provides a critical barometer for the health of our ecosystem. To monitor it, ecologists are deploying thousands of camera traps, creating a fire hose of data, in this case, hundreds of images from this one video. AI promises to help us make sense of it all. This rich data forms our train time data distribution. However, once our model is trained, in deployment, the data it may encounter might be very different from the training data. That is, out of distribution, causing failures. Our first project, Forte, is the gatekeeper for this data stream. Forte asks a fundamental information theoretic question. Is this image typical of our trusted, high-quality data? A camera trap doesn't just capture the white-tailed deer we expect. It captures lens flares, rain-streaked blurs, and unexpected visitors like a neighborhood cat. Feeding atypical or out-of-distribution data directly to a classification model can corrupt analysis, leading to flawed population models and misguided conservation policies. Robust filtering is needed before classification due to conditions like motion
Probably
blur and
raining
low-quality
outside.
images. Forte maps each image to a high-dimensional feature space. Here are the original data points from our reference dataset. For each new test image, Forte calculates the kth nearest neighbor distance. Forte then constructs a Euclidean ball around the test point with this as the radius, thereby creating an uncertainty set by taking the union of balls around each of the k nearest reference points. Forte uses 4 summary statistics: precision, recall, density, and coverage to measure typicality. Forte generalizes. Here we see images collected from the OSU Small Animals dataset. Forte successfully identifies in-distribution data specimens with or without the presence of animals with a green checkmark. When encountering unclear or degraded footage, Forte flags it clearly and signals to stop trusting the classification output. This is crucial in challenging conditions with unseen data points, like low visibility and poor quality imagery. Forte offers the only data-centric algorithm that requires no class labels, requires no exposure to atypical data, has no restrictions on the architecture of models, provides very low deployment overhead. It demonstrates strong domain generalization, successfully applied in various domains like anomaly detection in supercomputer logs, safeguarding language models from jailbreaks, screening MRI data, and analyzing millions of crystal structures for anomalies. But ensuring data quality is only half the battle. Once we've filtered our data, we face another bottleneck: labeling. This brings us to our second project, Labeling Copilot. Labeling Copilot is an interactive AI assistant that transforms the labeling process through 3 key capabilities: retrieval, synthesis, and annotation, by combining structured memory with reasoning strategies. It actively collaborates with human labelers to build high-quality datasets efficiently. I want to train an ML model to identify and track white-tailed deer populations via camera traps. Labeling Copilot responds, "Happy to help. I see you have 1,000 images to start. Let me fetch more images using active learning while focusing on data diversity." The system displays a diverse set of retrieved deer images from various angles and conditions. The Copilot rapidly expands the initial dataset with relevant examples, ensuring representation of different poses, lighting conditions, and environments. The Copilot identifies gaps in the data. I see these images are missing nighttime camera trap style images, foggy conditions, and snowy weather. Let me synthesize some for you. The system generates synthetic data, including nighttime infrared style images, foggy conditions, and winter scenes to ensure the model will be robust to these real-world variations. The synthetic images blend seamlessly with real data, showing deer in snowy conditions, exactly the kind of scenario the model needs to handle, but that might be underrepresented in the original dataset. Finally, the Copilot offers, "Let me now annotate the data." The system automatically generates bounding boxes around all deer in the scene, dramatically reducing the manual annotation burden while maintaining quality through its learned understanding of the task. Thank you.
Okay. So if you remember this picture earlier, this was our ICICLE architecture. We talked about 3 use cases that we started with. And of course, the middleware that we have created, that should apply to many other applications. And that's where we are starting to explore how to apply all of these components that we have built for AI and CI and see how they can be used there. And with that, let me thank you all for the attention and also thank hundreds of ICICLers who have actually worked to present this. Happy to take questions.
Yeah, let's give first thanks to Vipin. We have time for a few questions.
So,
No, go ahead.
so I had a quick question. Can the labeling copilot be used just to annotate an existing data? So you showed an entire pipeline where it can generate and then annotate.
Right.
Suppose if I have an existing data set, can I use it to just annotate that?
That's right. So it's totally agent-based, and you can replace the annotator, for example. So here, for example, you're using UNIT to do certain things. I can plug in, put in something else. The same thing with going and creating synthetic data sets, right? So there's every other day now you have a better model, and you can have an ensemble of those models. And I talked about consensus. You can replace that. The current one has that. So you can have an agent to go beyond consensus and so on. So the architecture is fully, truly plug and play in that sense.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
You have to press,
Yeah.
you have to keep it pressed.
Okay. Thank you. What's the underlying process in data synthesis part of the labeling Copilot? Is it using any diffusion models
Yes.
or?
Yeah, but again, as I was saying, we are
Uh-huh.
not restricted to that. You
Okay.
can use any other model because that agent is going to invoke whatever model you want.
Okay.
And Forte is included in that because when you have these synthetic data sets you create, you want to make sure they're sort of in distribution, right? Otherwise, the learning is not going to be good.
Thank you.
Any other questions from remote people? So might be, can you suggest like if somebody wants to use any of these? I know you indicated in slides, but just in a step-by-step form, what they need to do if they're interested in using any of the stacks and all.
Okay, so there are two ways to use these software components that we have from ICICLE. One is there's a link with Tapis, you have workflows, you can go, if you have compute available to you on one of these NAIR or Access locations, then you can go and actually use those as a service. So you have compute as well. And for those who want to run it on their own, you can go to GitHub, download the software, and run that. So there are two ways of using it.
Okay,
And I would highly encourage that you guys should try it if you have not done it.
so let's give again a big thanks to Vipin.
Thank you.